Hey there, and welcome back to the road to ProveIt 2026. My name is Christopher Sandoval. I'm Developer Relations Advocate here at FlowFuse. Since the last time we talked, we've made some really significant progress, and I'd love to show you what we have today. So today I'm going to show you the current state of our ProveIt experience. So let's dive right in. So in order to facilitate the demo for ProveIt, we needed to roll out a few containers and systems on our server. You can see here a few containers that we installed, including PostgreSQL, the FlowFuse device agent, and a handful of other middleware solutions. Now, an important thing that we should clarify here is that we have both relational database storage as well as time series database storage. Now, there's a pretty significant difference between those two technologies. See, generally relational databases that aren't time series based just give you a view of the data as it currently exists at a slice in time. Time series databases, however, store historical data in addition to current data. So by having both of these databases on our server, we can do a lot more complicated data retrieval and give a lot more context to our MCP solutions. With that being said, let's move over to our dashboards. So dashboarding is still an ongoing process, but I want to show you the end state that you'll see on our level 4 demonstration. In this demonstration, we have a proof of concept for a fantastic dashboard that gives you not only site 1 through 4 information, but also gives you overall context for all sites for OEE, and that includes things like availability, quality, and performance. We've also built out an interactive button that you can click to forward orders throughout the system. This will make it so that no matter which stage of the demo you're experimenting with, you have a flow that shows you exactly where the data goes and how it's worked upon. Finally, we're using a really cool flow viewer here that lets you see the way that the MCP nodes are built and how those resources and tools are surfaced to the MCP broker. Now, I'm going to include all of the nodes that we used to build this in the description below, so if you'd like to do something like this, definitely go check that out. We've also started defining the bridge between our local devices and our cloud devices. Because we have some functionality on the cloud that we want to access, we actually need to build a bridge from our remote instances to our cloud instances. Now, since we enrolled our device with the device agent into FlowFuse Cloud, we can do a lot of this accessing with things like project nodes and broadcasts. So in the next few days, we're going to finish up the dashboarding itself and also get the MCP tools better defined. Now, the way that this is going to look has already been sketched out, so I'll give you a little bit of a preview. Broadly speaking, what we're surfacing to the MCP broker is a series of tools and resources. As you would expect, the resources are things that are relatively static. They're things like machine information, the tolerances for those machines, that kind of thing. But we're going to be accessing things like the time series data through a tool rather than stating it as a static resource. By doing this and specifying prompts within the flow itself, we can make sure that the MCP broker can not only access data, but can also control how it's accessing that data and in what format. That's going to give it a ton of freedom to get the answers that we need, while also giving us a ton of control over what it can actually do. I'll get into this next week because it's a pretty deep dive, but suffice it to say that once we set up the tools and resources, our agentic solution is going to give you a ton of information and a ton of context really quickly. So next time, we're not only going to get into the MCP part of this, but we're also going to get into the physical devices that go into level 1 and 2. So definitely keep your eyes open for that if you're a big hardware fan. In the meantime, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving us a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested in everything that FlowFuse has to offer, then head on over to flowfuse.com or click the link in the description below to get in touch with one of our team. This has been Christopher Sandoval. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time on the road to ProveIt 2026.